One of the things that I see that really slows down the scaling of businesses is the inability to be able to maximize sales without burning out sales reps and having a diary full of people who shouldn't be there. In today's video, I'm going to break down step by step exactly how you, either a business owner or a salesperson, can maximize your sales process without burning out your reps. Make sure you stay all the way through to the end. At the end of the video, I've got a little bit of a special surprise for you guys, so make sure you stay all the way through. My name is Matt Ryder, and I help sales teams and business owners maximize their sales. So I've got a bit of a graph behind me, and what I'm going to show you today is exactly how to sort of maximize opportunity without burning out sales reps, and try and give you a better idea as to some of the success metrics that you should really be looking for when you're looking at scaling your sales team. One of the biggest problems is that marketers are looking at leads as their success metric, and salespeople are looking at close rate as a success metric. What you end up with is marketers trying to pump as many leads as they can into the sales process without really much care as to what happens on the back end of that. And then you end up with sales reps either underqualifying or overqualifying prospects that come through, which means that they either end up with a whole bunch of really crappy sales calls or nowhere near enough really good sales calls. And that's because what they're tracking are just not compatible. Leads don't matter, conversion rate doesn't really matter. What you have to do is have an ebb and flow where you prioritize one or the other based on like a mutual, I guess, respect and communication between the sales and marketing. I'm just gonna go and explain this little graph that I've got here real quick so that we can visually conceptualize what I'm talking about. At the top, we have high lead flow, so lots of leads. At the bottom, we have low lead flow, so not many leads. To the left here, we have low bandwidth or availability. Let's say you have 5 reps and each of them has 20 spaces available. You would have the bandwidth of 100 sales calls. And then you've got a high bandwidth, which is essentially the amount of availability that you have left. What we want to do is figure out how to push people through a sales process and a marketing process whilst getting the most amount of sales. As someone who runs an agency that really deals with the entire front end of a business, we do the sales, we also do the marketing. I'm accountable for the end figure of actual total sales, not for the amount of leads or the conversion rate. I just want to get the most amount of sales possible. So if that's you, keep watching, right? So what we want to do is we need to figure out how we teach setter teams and sales teams to dynamically decide what qualifications are going to deem someone appropriate to put through to a final sales call. Let's say we have a 3-step process. So we have DM set, then from there they get set to a triage call, and then from there they go through to a sales call. There's obviously friction points that we've inbuilt into that process, which is gonna mean that people are gonna drop out. We're removing people from the bottom essentially. So what we're left over with is like a group of what should be fairly highly qualified sales calls. The problem is that if we maintain the same level of qualification here and here in the DM set and the triage, when we're on a really high volume month or high volume account versus a low volume month or low volume account, then this is gonna be greatly affected, the actual sales call number. Okay, so what we need to do is we need to have a bit of a floating structure which allows us to determine if somebody goes through. So if we have low bandwidth, right, and we have high lead flow, it means that we need to be really discerning as to who we let through because we just don't have that many spaces available. Like it might be that you've hit the jackpot when it comes to your marketing and you just don't have a team big enough and you can't just keep booking and booking and booking miles and miles out because you're just going to have a massive no-show problem because you're booking sales calls 14 days or 21 days out. So the level of qualification that you have to put that prospect through is really high. So we've got high qualification here. Now, if we go over here and we have high lead flow and high bandwidth, that means that we have a great lead flow and we have lots of spots available. That means that over here, I'm going to have low qualification, which means that I'm going to try and stack my diaries as full as I possibly can because I'm always looking for maximum diary. Like that's what I want. I want maximum opportunity. My mandate to the setter team or the triage team or the sales team is going to be different if I'm in this situation than I'm in this situation. If I have high bandwidth and low lead flow, everyone needs to go through. I don't care if they're someone's grandmother that once heard about the business, you have 150 open spots and you only have 40 leads, every single lead should be getting a sales call because you're trying to maximize opportunity. And then over here, low bandwidth, low lead flow, it means that again, we need to try and maximize, but we have to limit based off the bandwidth that we have available. Now, this may seem really, really common sense, but what I see across a lot of different businesses when it comes to people having outbound and triage and SDRs and sort of sales reps is that they're not looking at things on a month-to-month or week-to-week basis, or the hierarchy is not conveying, hey, just so you know, 2 of our marketing streams have gone down, you will see a reduced lead flow. Therefore, you need to be less harsh on your qualification. And just as well, if you have low bandwidth and you're onboarding sales reps, but you can't onboard them fast enough, and you have a lot of leads coming through, like, you can't just stack your sales guys out for 25 hours a day. You're just gonna burn them out. And so by having an understanding and a constant look at what your availability is versus the qualification markers that you're giving your discovery team or your qualification team to put through, and the amount of input that you can give to that team, that's the ratio that you need to be constantly tweaking and tuning to maximize opportunity and minimize burnout. Because, people have to know, even if I would rather talk to a lot of lower qualified leads than almost no highly qualified leads. Because at the end of the day, if you're like me and you enjoy making money, you want to have diaries full, but it needs to be full of the most appropriate people available. If you have tons of leads, squash it down to only feeding the best. If you have no leads, widen it out so at least you have opportunity. Because you guys stayed all the way through the end of the video, what I want you guys to do is click on the video here. That's gonna take you to another one where I'm gonna give you a free download where I explain this stuff in a little bit more detail. So well done, thank you, click the video, and I will see you on the next video.